What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Shatter the Script, episode 3. You dig it. I'm your host, Jared Main. I'm joined by
Hunter Poole.
There we go. The dynamic duo is back again for episode 3. We got a couple of topics to cover for you guys today. A lot has happened in the NFL world. So Stefon Diggs was traded to the Houston Texans for a couple of picks, which we'll get into that later. We're going to shatter the script on a couple of topics related to Stefon Diggs. Then we also have some audience responses we want to get into. Thank you guys for your feedback.
It's about damn time.
It's about time. We want to get more and just kind of pick and choose our favorites. But we had a couple of guys. We're going to read all of them today. We had enough to read all of them. So we'll be going through that a little bit. And then we'll be talking about who has the worst offseason in the NFL so far and kind of expand on that. But primarily, we're going to be talking about the Stefon Diggs trade because that is big news. And no, we're not going to be talking about Sketch in Houston.
What's up, brother?
What's up, brother? Hey, we had that first. That was us. And you can ask the analysts that when we were back at his crib. It's like, yeah, when we have something to say, we just do that. And he's like, okay. And then Sketch came along and took over the planet.
Sketch is taking over the.
I'm not envious.
He's a media sensation right now.
It's crazy. He's on ESPN and everything.
Yeah, when you have like Bryce Harper doing his dance, and you guys, he's always had a CJ Stroud jersey. That's that's what he's known for. He's kind of like, innocent little goofy kid, with the CJ Stroud jersey, and then now next thing you know, he's hanging out with Tank Dell and all those guys. It's like that's crazy.
Steph, Tank Dell, Nico, CJ. That's a dangerous group. Which we'll get into that now. So we wanted to start with the topic of Stefon Diggs, then transition into a Shatter the Script. So how the Shatter the Script is going to work once we get to that is we're going to ask each other a question, and we're going to have 2 minutes to answer that question, to shatter the script over that, the script on that question. And it'll be quick, fun, and rapid fire, and that's us right there on a whim. So, yeah, let's get into it. Stefon Diggs to Houston. All right. So, Texans, they acquired, obviously, Diggs and a 6th-round pick, 2024, and a 2025 5th-round pick. The Bills got a 2025 2nd-round pick, and then they're taking on his $31 million dead cap, cap hit. So what are your thoughts on this trade initially? Let's just get that out of the way. We'll discuss our opening thoughts on it. What do you think?
Opening thoughts on it. So about an hour, 2 hours before the trade was announced by Shatter, Diggs got into a little altercation on Twitter with the Twitter fingers, and he had where, they said something about Josh Allen, the playoffs, Stefon Diggs, and this is just a random bot account, right? So, he doesn't take a shot at Josh Allen's, hardcore saying he's a bad quarterback, but he kind of just, defends himself, and it's not like Josh Allen was the one saying it, So it kind of just, it's like, okay, at that point, it's like, it was already last offseason.
Yeah.
It's going back to this. It's going to be the same thing this offseason. I saw another report that they got into it after the first game of the season where Josh Allen threw, 4 picks against the Jets?
Yeah.
And apparently him and Diggs got into the locker room. So it was just time for him to go. Obviously, you can tell if they're going to eat up $31 million in dead cap, which is the biggest dead cap hit ever for a non-quarterback player.
That's crazy.
And, he's 30 years old. And so with that being said, they had to do it. And, Houston took fair advantage of CJ Stroud and his major development after year one.
Yeah.
With that major development, rookie contract, even though it's not like a Dak rookie contract or a Brock Purdy one, he's
like a ladder round.
Thing is, even though he is getting paid more than those guys for his rookie contract, he is obviously the better quarterback after the first year than those two guys were. And you add a piece like Stefon Diggs, even though Stefon Diggs isn't what he once was, he's not in that top 5 conversation anymore. It's an excellent pickup, and I think as long as the Bills do something to kind of replace the guys they lost, I think it can be a win-win situation for both teams.
Yeah, because we know, my initial thoughts on it, we know that Josh Allen can do a lot with a little, and they're asking him to do a lot more with a lot less now. But that's going to be a big factor going into the new season. Plus, they have their coach from Al Qaeda the Al Qaeda supporter and Bill McDermott. But yeah, like that you were talking about, Stefon Diggs getting after it with Josh Allen last year when he threw those 4 picks, and there was like a skirmish in the locker room saying it's just one game or whatever that Josh Allen was saying. So there's been drama for over a year, like you said. But my initial thoughts on this trade, like, you can do a lot with a rookie contract. And, there were teams that took advantage of it in the past, and there are teams that failed to take advantage of it in the past. And, one of the things about Houston, it is as big as it is in terms of like mileage and square radius and all that kind of stuff, it's still a growing city. Sports wise, the Rockets, they have some historical context. Yeah, the Oilers, they transitioned to the Texans. The Texans are the baby of the what's up?
The Oilers went to the Titans.
Yeah, the Titans. But they split up into the Texans and Titans. And, the Texans are the baby of the NFL, technically, along with the Titans. And so people have not really given them a fair, evaluation. Oh, you've never been to a Super Bowl sort of thing. Well, at some point, you got to tell all the other teams to kick rocks and go after it, get your guy, and get after it with a bunch of weapons, a great head coach, a great quarterback. And a lot of people are saying this is the recipe for success. This is the way that Houston Texans do it is the way that everyone should do it. It's like, well, CJ Stroud's a diamond in the rough. Like, it is so rare to find and hit a quarterback. It's like hitting a 10-leg parlay. Like, it's rare. It's not going to happen every time. And even if it does, you may already have players that are being paid for it. He might rise up, surpass a veteran quarterback starting the roster. So they have a golden opportunity. This is like this was a Trojan horse when they picked CJ Stroud because of all the discrepancies that came out about him, about his cognitive tests. Is he going to make it? So I love this move from Houston. I really think that Stefon Diggs, yeah, he's a drama queen a little bit. His younger brother isn't much of one. He's pretty quiet. He's a family man, kind of keeps himself. Do I think that here's a question for you. Do you think the dynamic in Houston with Stroud, Diggs, and basically has 3 number ones in their team? They have, Nico, Tank, and Diggs, plus some young rookies like Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson, that could step up, on an injured day or something like that. Do you think the dynamic's going to work long term with Stefon Diggs in Houston, or do you think this is kind of like a 1 year, let's run it?
Well, good question. The reason why they have it to where right now it's for 1 year. So technically, what they did was they took his contract and they made it to where, okay, we're making this. You got your money. Now you're on a 1 year contract with us.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to, if you want to take that, diva kind of BS into this locker room, you're out. And then it's like, no one, you're 30, 31 years old. How many more good years do you have? If you play good this year, you're not getting another contract. And if it's going to be a contract, it's going to be one of those like vet men's, maybe like Juju Smith, like $6 million a year type contracts. So they planned it right to where it's like, we're not stuck with this guy if it doesn't work out with locker room, if he like degrades on the field and everything. So with that being said, it looks good on paper at the moment. And I think that with the contract that they're doing, it makes Diggs have to play to his ability.
Yeah.
When you don't really want to be in Buffalo, you have, you're like, I can get the money still. Like, I have this contract. I'm, getting into my 30s and losing a little bit. I'm not top 5 anymore. They'd be like, all right, well, if you don't work out, you want to be a diva, man, beat it. Like that's kind of what they're doing right now. And with that being said, do you see the Texans being, I guess, a Super Bowl contender? I wouldn't say, are they going to make it to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
For them, what would be a failed season for them? If they, let's just say, like, if they made it to, if they make it to the second round, lose, is that a failed season?
Well, I look at their division and I see, Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, he gained a weapon last year. Well, now he lost it. I think Calvin Ridley went to the Titans. Was it?
He's 4 years, $92 million.
Yeah, which Marcus Mosher thought was way too much. But I look at they have a very young division, and they took the division by storm last year, taking advantage of the struggles and injuries that Jacksonville had. Well, the Titans are still on the come up. They could be a dark horse, second place divisional, maybe wild card team, but a failed season for Houston if they don't win their division. If they fail to win their division, I think it's a it's a huge step back when they took a huge step forward in free agency and the offseason. Plus, the draft hasn't happened yet. They can go in and stack a couple of guys. I mean, they added guys like Daniil Hunter, Joe Mixon, and some interior guys as well, maybe some secondary guys. But their offense is stacked. They have no reason to fail offensively. So if they rank outside of the top 10 in offense, I'd be disappointed, especially fantasy wise. So yeah, and if they were let's say they win the division and their first round exit, I'd be like, guys, come on. Like, you had to hold them to the same standard as like our Cowboys. You got a roster like we have, you get into the playoffs and you go one and done, you should be hated for it. You should, you should be very critical of how the effort was played, however it plays out, the effort, the coaching strategy, how the quarterback played, all that kind of stuff. So I would take those into account of failure.
So so now another question to kind of follow up with that. Yeah. What does Buffalo do moving forward? What would also be do you have high expectations for them, or do you expect them to, if they, let's say they go 500?
I'm glad you asked me that question because me and you are both very, very high on a guy like Josh Allen. Look, he can do a lot with a little. However, and this kind of goes into my Shatter the script question I'll ask later, but he can do a lot with a little, but at the end of the day, he's still going to need a guy. So priority number one for me, I know they still, they lost, his old offensive coordinator, Daboll, which elevated his turnover ability, basically, eliminated a lot of interceptions and fumbles, but it all kind of came back once Daboll left. And McDermott, there's questions about him, but I love what they did with the offensive coordinator. It's Joe Brady, I think is who it is. I can't remember, but they did a great job in the latter half of last year. They started balling out and ended up winning their division over, the Miami Dolphins. So, yeah, I would say the Buffalo Bills' number one priority is go into the draft and get a wide receiver, get a guy. I don't care if it's Malik Neighbors. I don't care if you have to.
They would have to trade if they want a guy like they would have to trade up. I don't know their draft capital specifically. I know they're in the 20s for their pick.
Yeah.
I know the Cowboys when they traded for Morris Claiborne, they went all the way to 6. I think they were in the 20s or something like that as well. With that, if they want, you can't you could try to get like Xavier Worthy, right? Speedster guy, and then it's like, does that really move mountains? So it's
not off rip,
Yeah, so and they lost Gabe Davis, they lost Diggs. Josh Allen is the modern day Brett Favre, gunslinger, exciting to watch. He can do a lot. Like he turns over the ball a lot, but look at all the plays that he makes. And it's funny because Diggs' last ball thrown to him was a 70 yards in the air dot from Josh Allen, and he dropped it, and they eventually lost the game.
Yeah.
I think they should go. If I was them, I'm not very good with how you trade up and what is value on value.
Yeah, Twitter's
but if I'm them, I'm trying to get into like top 10, top 9, just depending on what happens. And it's a lot easier said than done when nothing's happened. But because you can make 500 mock drafts, you can look at Mel Kiper's, Todd McShay's, all those guys, and then it's like, they have it all set, and the next thing you know, it's like 4th pick can be just some random dude. It could be, everyone's like Marvin Harrison's the first wide receiver taken, but look what happened when Henry Ruggs got drafted. No one expected him to be the first one taken off.
Yeah,
so it's one of those things where you just got to see, you got to see how it is, and if it's like, okay, it's the 9th pick, the 10th pick, you see who's available.
Yeah.
You kind of see, you're talking to other GMs, who's being aggressive, who's trying to get up in there. And it's like, you know what? Let's trade up. Let's give away somebody. Let's go get, because they also lost guys on defense too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they're done, but it's going to be, it's probably going to be the most hero ball we've ever seen from Josh Allen. We've seen a lot of it already. It's going to be hero ball. There might be some hospital balls. It's going to be, depending on what they do in this draft, it might move mountains, or we might be, seeing a Buffalo team we haven't seen since year 1 of Josh Allen.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're basically saying if you have the opportunity to draft Josh Allen in fantasy, do it, because he's going to be doing the most in 2020.
Oh, he might average like 60 yards rushing. That's already 6 points right there. Let's say he scores a rushing touchdown. That's 6 points. That's already 12. Let's just say he throws 2 touchdowns. Depending on your league, you got 4 points. That's already, let's say 4 points. That's already, you're at 20 now. He's always going to be the fantasy guy. He probably, they're going to take some other quarterbacks. He'll probably be like the 4th or 5th quarterback taken.
Yeah.
It'll probably be like, people probably go like Mahomes, Lamar. Then they'll go like, some people might still take Hurts. They see that Saquon's there. So just the running ability he has, and you already know like they're inside the 5. What's going down?
Yeah.
Fantasy wise, but
it's
gonna be
awesome.
Buffalo. It's gonna be a lot of hero ball.
Yeah, I mean, right now I think it's Mac Hollins, KJ Hamler, and I don't even know. Shakur, I think. From Boise State.
Yeah, Khalil Shakur.
Which he's got a little shimmy to him, but James. Yeah, no, and James Cook behind. They're might need a bulkier secondary back in there as well, or running back. But
he does with what his team is right now. He does have an opportunity to, if he performs. Let's just say they go 10-6 or 10-7, 11-6. Depending on what his team is, he has most of the time they'll give like the MVP to like who's the best team in NFL.
Yeah.
What's this? But if he doesn't have the weapons or anything like that, his defense, they've seen everything on paper does not look good for the Bills.
No.
He has an opportunity to be an MVP just with degree of difficulty. They're going to have a first place schedule.
Yeah.
They're in a tough division already.
First place schedule is going to be big.
First place schedule, tough division. They can get past the Chiefs. I don't know if they play the Chiefs, but the thing is, like, he has an opportunity. He will be a dark horse MVP just by the degree of difficulty his season might have to be.
If he balls out and throws for 40+ touchdowns this year, and Mahomes maybe gets a guy in the draft, or Rashee Rice is able to stay. I know there's speculations about what might happen to him. All this Lamborghini accident stuff going down, dude. I'm gonna have just talent wise. It's kind of goes back to that Brady Aaron Rodgers argument I had years ago, where I was like, Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL talent wise. He can, just looking at the quarterback position. Yes, Tom Brady's the most successful. But then again, Mahomes is just different. The way that the craziness that he provides to the game, I just can't ever say that. But man, it'd be freaking close if Josh Allen balls out this year. I mean, I'm talking 1A Mahomes, 1B Josh Allen.
Yeah, he's the second best quarterback. He's the second best quarterback.
Yeah. All right, well, let's transition into Shatter the Script. So, like I mentioned before, we're going to ask each other a question, and we're going to give each other 2 minutes to shatter the script on. I'm going to get my phone out, and I'll time it. I'm going to ask you my question first. But
bring it on. I don't even know what the question is.
Shout out to David. He just won a tournament in Rocket League. All right, here we go. 2 minutes. My question is, did Stefon Diggs elevate Josh Allen's performance, or did Josh Allen's growth as a quarterback unlock Stefon Diggs' full potential? Start the timer.
Great question, Jared. I'm glad you asked me that. Didn't know what to expect, but let me get on to it. At the time of the trade, when Stefon Diggs, he went to Buffalo.
Yeah.
There was, what was that, 2019, 2020? So let me just say this fantasy-wise. When I knew Diggs was good when he was playing with Adam Thielen, Kirk Cousins, and all those guys, right? So I was like, or it wasn't even Kirk Cousins, but anyway. So I saw Josh Allen's potential. I saw how I was like, man, he doesn't have a solidified number one but he has that raw potential.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I saw Diggs. I was like, okay, Diggs is they're gonna pop off together. I was like, Diggs is a real deal. He's playing behind the white boy Adam Thielen. So to answer your question, sorry, I'm like, that was a tough question, but like, I think Josh Allen made Diggs hit his full potential.
Yeah.
He wasn't top 5 before that. He was a solidified guy, but he wasn't top 5.
It's true.
Josh Allen had that raw potential, and obviously it's paid off because Josh Allen, even though Diggs had a off year this year,
Yeah.
Josh Allen was still balling.
It was the process too.
Exactly, and it's even with Diggs has fallen off. It didn't make the Buffalo Bills as dynamic because you are paying that guy number one money. He should be the best player on the outside on the field. But with Josh Allen, we saw his development. Okay, yeah, he can throw the ball deep. He can do this. He made Diggs reach his full potential. Showed him that
20 seconds.
20 seconds. Okay, yeah, it showed that he can really that he's a real deal. And I think Diggs is going to solidify, but I think Josh Allen made Diggs reach his full potential.
5 seconds left. Very good. That was a tough question. I was doing a lot of thinking about it over the weekend. I was like, all right, how can I spin this with Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs?
So, I got a question for you. Like I said.
All right. Let me reset the timer. All right.
So Shatter the script. My question to you, Jared. Right now, with how the NFL is, what we've seen over the last couple of years with wide receivers.
Yeah.
Are you taking a big risk for a diva number one wide receiver, young guy? Let's just say like you draft him 5th overall, 4th overall.
Like a Caleb Williams wide receiver.
Basically. Yeah. So basically, is it too much of a risk what we see going on in the kind of pattern of these players and the kind of the childish mistakes they've been making? Is it overrated to go get a number one diva wide receiver right now in the NFL?
Okay, 2 minutes to start. Great question. I think with the way that the NFL is formatted now, like everything's kind of a money game. And a lot of the new college players coming in with like NIL and how it's basically changed the game, they're all wanting money. How can I get paid? That's their first question. That's why Nick Saban quit, or not quit, but he retired. So we're sitting here looking at all these young players, with money symbols in their eyes, ready to go. Like who's going to pay me the most? Who's going to be in the most lucrative position to give me and let me get mine? So is it a huge ass risk to go get a diva wide receiver one? Well, we've seen in the past with, guys like Shatter, Terrell Owens, Des Bryant, those kind of guys. I know it's 2 Cowboys, but, those guys were, there were distractions at some times, but at other times, their passion for the game, a lot of those diva wide receiver ones, their passion for the game is uncanny. But sometimes there are canon events that follow wide receiver one. It's usually in their departure. It's usually when their contract's coming up. Headlines start sparking up. The blame gets passed to a random quarterback or a coach or whoever. And it's usually like a wide receiver one's motive is usually everyone is against me. And if I'm going to say, is it a huge risk? It depends on the 30 seconds rating. It depends on the organization. The Cowboys, they love it. The Chargers, the brand supports it. The Rams, the coach can handle it. Bill Belichick, he screws it up with the diva. Like, it won't work. So it depends on the organization. If you got the right organization, go out and get your wide receiver one diva. Deal with the hassle. If you don't, then forget about it. Go get those necessary pieces like an offensive lineman or something like that. Done. That was fun.
Yeah, I was going to say, even on my question, it took a lot to kind of get out of. I just wanted you to get all the context of the question and answer that. You know what I mean?
I had to. There was one part of it I kind of tripped. I was like, I think he's talking about like a Caleb Williams wide receiver one here, and I was trying to like piece together the whole thing. So hell yeah.
We'll definitely get better at those strategy scripts.
That was pretty damn good.
Yeah. We're gonna, like I said, we're still learning, and I can already feel the comfortability of both of us already on the mic.
The confidence is spewing out of our minds.
It's in a way, it's actually a lot easier to talk into this mic than it is to talk on a screen.
Yeah.
Because then you don't know, you can't really tell if what you're saying is being heard. not only that, it's like I don't know. I just think it's my old setup, man. When I used to like sit down, I was like my ass just starts to hurt. I was like I just didn't like it.
Yeah, like the way me and you operate when we're talking sports for the last 3-4 years or whatever has been on a couch randomly, just start talking. So eventually we're gonna get like just laying back like Little Caesars on Sundays, watching football, just talking about fantasy. Like eventually we're gonna get to a point where it's like that, where it's like right now it's a hybrid. We talked about this a little off air. It's a hybrid between like, okay, we're gonna talk to the audience for like 40%, and then the 60% it's me and you talking, but then in between the conversation we go back to the audience. So it's like weird, it's like a healthy medium that we're toying with it, a little bit. So but that was good. That was a good first story. Yeah, whatever. All right, let's get into the audience responses. So that was the Stefon Diggs, our Shatter the Script primary topic right there. Covered a good portion of the episode. All right, our first one. Okay, this is funny. This is from my little brother David, or our little brother David. Like that. All right. David asked, okay, she said, now that Carson Wentz joined the Chiefs, are they finally Super Bowl contenders?
To answer your question, David, yes, they are contenders, but it's not because of that. And I know there's a little bit of trolling behind that. The Chiefs, it's when I was having a conversation with a buddy at work, I was talking about, Rasheed Rice, and I was like, he's a dog. I was like, they hit a guy, they still can, he's not gonna like be like a top paid number one. Well, I said that before what came out, but I was like, he's a good player. He has the tools. Mahomes likes him. He trusts him. But they got Hollywood Brown. They still need to, work on some pieces. The only person I can think of right now that they've kind of missed on was Sky Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, but besides him, I think the Chiefs, they're with Mahomes at quarterback no matter what until he cannot play anymore. They will always be somewhat of a contender, no matter what kind of team is put in front of them, what team they have with them.
Yeah.
They're always with Mahomes at the saddle. They're always going to be a contender.
Would you say the same for like Josh Allen?
Josh Allen, if he was in NFC, I would say yes. But since he has Mahomes in his
gauntlet to go after,
since he has to some way probably have to go through Mahomes, I'm always going to have. It's going to be hard for the Bills to be. They'll be contenders, but if they were in the NFC, Josh Allen would have at least been to a Super Bowl already. But so that's why, it's kind of hard just because they're the same division.
It's weird because Carson Wentz a couple of years ago, I think it was his year with Washington. I think he threw for over 4,000 yards, but none of his receivers surpassed, or any reception players that on the roster had surpassed 500 yards receiving across the board. But he threw for 4,000 yards. I think Alshon Jeffrey was. It might have been with the Eagles. Sorry, it was with the Eagles, and Alshon Jeffrey had like 491. I think.
He was. I think Alshon Jeffrey was his favorite target for wide receiver that year. He was a big Zach Ertz guy.
Yeah.
He was a big. That was a good team. I used to really like Carson Wentz, even though he was on the Eagles. It's always weird. I can't stand the Eagles as a team just because they go against the Cowboys. But there's always like one or two players on that team where I'm like, man, I wish he was like a Cowboy. Like someone like AJ Brown. I've always been a fan of AJ Brown.
Give me AJ Brown, dude. Yeah.
And then even with Carson Wentz, at the time, I was like, I'd rather have Carson Wentz than Dak. And then I think with the injuries he had, I think it did it's definitely his confidence went down.
Yeah.
Because before he tore his ACL, that man was I know that was a good team, but man, that dude was making some crazy throws. Yeah. He was making he was an awesome quarterback to watch, even though he was on the Eagles. I think it's once you get hurt, the mental, because it's all a mental game. You can have it physically, but mental as well. And I think that the injury kind of fucked with his mental.
Yeah, and my short answer to that question is yes, because of Carson Wentz, they are contenders. It's basically a Chase Daniels on steroids for the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, next. This is from our buddy Alton. Alton asked us, does anyone in the NFL rival Mahomes and the Chiefs? that one, we got a lot of correlation with the Chiefs in our audience responses, but we talked about you kind of mentioned just a second ago, but with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, C.J. Stroud. I might be missing a name, maybe two. I guess two as a team.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, healthy Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. You got to get through all of those names to get to the Super Bowl, and Mahomes does it every year almost. And this last year was the year to beat him. And the Bills couldn't get it done. Thanks, Stefon Diggs. But that's brutal. Like, we were watching that game, and they should have, they missed that field goal or whatever. But that was your chance. We talked about it in the podcast when we were, running with the name the Rook and the Kid. It was like, if you're going to beat Mahomes any year, it's this year. But the fact that Mahomes continues to do all of this, and yeah, I get it. Like Herbert and Lawrence and Stroud's just now coming along. So he kind of got away with it a little bit, but then again, he still continuously proved that they were the better team and he was the better quarterback. Well, now people are starting to catch fire. Now Stroud and the Houston Texans are starting to catch some fire. Now you got, Aaron Rodgers coming back with the Jets. They got a decent roster. I don't think they're going to be contenders for the Super Bowl, but I think they're going to upset some people and probably go 9-10 wins. The biggest contender is the Ravens, in my opinion. I think it still is. I think the Houston Texans on paper are right behind them. But, you got the MVP team, in my opinion, the Baltimore Ravens, coming back with Derrick Henry at the helm in the backfield. You've got a couple of ones. You get rid of Odell Beckham Jr. He's not coming back. They lose a couple linebackers, though. Patrick Queen, I don't think he re-signed, but
he left.
Yeah, Patrick Queen's gone. So Mark Andrews is going to be back healthy. So on paper, the Ravens and the Texans. What do you think?
I noticed, and I was thinking about it. You missed a team, and you missed a guy in the AFC. One of the only guys to beat Mahomes in the playoffs. Mr. Joe Shiesty.
Damn, dude! It totally went over my head.
It's because he got hurt. They had a down year. Joe Burrow to me is probably the fourth best quarterback. I would take, Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar over Joe Burrow. But Joe Burrow, his team, the weapons, they have a lot of things to compete with the Chiefs, and Joe Burrow's a good quarterback. So, just because I think the Cincinnati and Chiefs and the Chiefs and the Bills, they have a very good rivalry, like, dynamic going on. Those will probably be the two teams. I think that with the Bills not having as much weapons as they had in the past to kind of compete with them offensively, I'm going to have to go with the Bengals for now. But if the Bills can figure it out this offseason with draft and maybe in an in-season trade, teams, some people don't realize you can trade during the season depending on what you need.
Yeah.
I think those are two teams, but for now on paper, I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals.
That's fantastic. Like, and T. Higgins too. Like, we don't know what's going to happen with him. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Is he going to go mid-season? Jamar Chase. He's going to be back. Jake Browning's a solid backup. They got to go out and get a running back. But dude, Burrow is. I'm trying to think of.
Well, he's
basically the winter soldier to Captain America.
I did just think about this too. I don't know how true this report is, but I saw that the Bills let Stefon Diggs get traded anywhere except the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep. Exactly.
Is it because of being rivals, or is it more of like just it's the Chiefs, bro? You can't give Mahomes you can't give him any breathing room. We see him do it with Tyreek Hill, Rashid Rice, Kadarius Toney. That man if you give him any type of leg room, and if you give him an inch, he takes a mile.
Yeah.
That's how special he is. He's already he's probably top 3 ever, which is crazy to think that he's only been in the league for like six years.
Yeah.
Playing 6 years. Yeah, I know he's corny, but that dude is crazy.
Yeah. That's a great pick though. The Bengals are your dark horse. That's another dark horse MVP candidate right there, or comeback player of the year, you could argue maybe. Hopefully his elbow's okay. Hopefully his mental's okay with that's when your arm gets hurt like that, especially in, I guess I would relate it to baseball. When your arm gets hurt like that, you either throw a lot harder the next time or you got the yips. So hopefully Burrow doesn't get those yips. I think he's gonna come out hot though. But yeah, great question. Appreciate it, Alton. And then we got third one. I'm going to spin this question a little bit because our niche is not NCAA women's basketball. But I put a poll out there that is Caitlin Clark the greatest of all time of women's collegiate basketball players? Because obviously she's taking social media by storm. Their rivalry with LSU was fun. If I was going to spin this question, the question initially was, this is from my mom actually, is if Caitlin Clark isn't the GOAT of NCAA women's basketball, then who is? Well, we don't know. But
I can actually have a question or an answer to that question. Caitlin Clark, she has the highest points ever. She doesn't have the titles, but again, she doesn't have the teams that the other girls they had the players to women's NBA players caliber. I wouldn't say she's the best women's college basketball player ever, but I will say she's the most exciting college basketball player or women's college basketball player. If I'm gonna go what I've seen in best women's college basketball player, I'm gonna go with Maya Moore. She played at Connecticut.
Yeah.
And when she was playing, it's to me when I used to even when she went to the women's NBA, I was like, she literally is like a woman's LeBron James on the court. You got Maya Moore, and then if another person would be like Breonna Stewart. But if you go for exciting, I would say Caitlin Clark by a landslide. She is. Yeah. She shoots like Steph Curry. She's fun to watch. She carries this. Iowa team.
Yeah.
She's definitely the most exciting. But if I'm gonna go with greatest, I'm either go with Maya Moore or I'm gonna go with Breonna Stewart.
Yeah, and I won't speak to because I don't know those names. I apologize to the audience. I don't know those names too well, and I don't have the shit in front of me. But you said that Caitlin Clark is the most exciting, and I would say she's the most valuable in collegiate basketball for women's because Angel Reese like she played her heart out in that loss. She had I think 20 rebounds over. She played her part. She's not a 3-point shooter.
She's like 6'8".
Yeah, she did her job in my opinion. I might not be a big fan of Angel Reese and LSU in general. I might be the Texas A&M in me, but when I watched Caitlin Clark play, I mean this is so good for women's basketball. I think more people were tuning into that game between LSU and Iowa, and also the Final Four game with Iowa than some of the men's games because of Caitlin Clark alone. My follow-up question would be, because I don't know if you've heard about this, but she basically got offered millions of dollars to go play with Ice Cube in Ice Cube's league for or $5 million, I think was the offer. And it's 3v3 league. Or she could play another year, get $20 million or whatever in NIL deals, and maybe retire after that. Maybe not even go to the WNBA. But the WNBA, you're not going to get paid what you're worth because, you're going to get paid what you're worth because of viewership and stuff like that. We've talked about that before.
The women's NBA loses money for the NBA. The NBA is the reason why the women's NBA players even get paid to begin with.
And that's a controversial subject, but I'm saying
facts.
It's a fact, yeah. But
people lie, facts are humans lie, numbers don't.
Numbers don't lie. But it's I don't know. If I'm Caitlin Clark, you're already getting all this NIL money, which is great, for her, and it's great for women's basketball. It carries more over for them. It's more relevant for them than it is for the men's league because they're eventually a lot. I get they're not. You got to be part of the 1% to go get paid and get a contract, and in the NBA, the MLB, all of it. A lot of the people in the MLB, when they get drafted, a lot of my buddies, they don't disappear, but it's just a long road to finally make it to the show. So every sport has a different path, but women's is tricky because there's not a whole lot of professional sports out there for women that's on a national scale. So if I'm her, I actually would take the Ice Cube deal. Go over there and ball out. You're on TV. You can kind of get on the social media aspect of things. That's my opinion. You already got the NIL deals. You could probably get more being affiliated with Ice Cube, but
It's
you look like you disagree.
I do disagree because if you're coming from the standpoint of if you being a woman, if you want to keep having women's sports, the last thing you want to do is go against men. So if you go against men, it kind of and these are going to be like just grown men, retired NBA players, maybe a couple of celebrities, and you get shut down by these guys. It's going to diminish anything, any kind of argument that a woman has, where we should get paid like this, we should do this. If you if you are Caitlin Clark and you are like you want to keep the women's sports, maybe even make it to where there's still maybe an argument to be there. Do not do that. It would be the worst PR move you could possibly think of.
Think about it this way. I just thought about this too. Think about it this way. Caitlin Clark, if she's the most valuable, like I say she is, she's the most valuable women's college basketball player, and she turns her back on the professional league of the WNBA to go play in a different league, that would send a horrible message to the following great WNBA or NCAA women's basketball players. Does that make sense? Like if she turns her back on the path to being a professional athlete in the women's basketball to go play somewhere else, it's almost like the live golf thing. It was like, oh my God, you're going to go play in Saudi Arabia's league, or whatever. You're not going to play in the PGA Tour. How dare you? Well, LIV was offering more money, and so it's a different topic, but it's kind of like a metaphorical comparison.
The reason why
I think
Caitlin
it'd
Clark
be damaging for athletes.
The reason why Caitlin Clark is taking so much heat from all these other women, former players, current players, and everything like that is because Caitlin Clark is like the first women's player that like social media people like, the normal fan, they like want to watch her. They've never had that for like other women's basketball players. You know who wants to watch the women? Women.
Yeah.
So all this jealous and animosity, all this stuff, it's coming to light. And the thing about it is, I will say this: give me 2 months of training, and I bet you I can guard Caitlin Clark. Give me 2 months to get in shape. I just have to be in shape. I bet you I can. Guard.
Yeah, let me commentate that. Yeah.
I just need to be in shape. That's all I need. Just get me in shape, and we'll see what's up.
Here we are on the USS Naval Base. Here we got one-on-one Caitlin Clark versus Hunter Poole.
I had to guard some dogs back in my day. I think I can.
I've seen you play defense before. When we talked about it in the previous pod.
I think give me 2 months to get in shape. That's all I think.
Yeah. All right. Next one. Our final audience response from Grant, our dog, the Corpus Christi local, the Bluff Rat. Okay. His question was: would Buffalo have a ring with Jeddah if they traded for Diggs? Would Buffalo have a ring with Jeddah if they never traded for Diggs? So, a little context here, just to let you know. So in 2020, the Vikings acquired a 2020 first-round pick, a 2025th and 6th, and then a 2021 fourth-round pick. So they got a plethora of picks when they traded for Stefon Diggs, and Buffalo absorbed, the remainder of his contract. So, what do you think? Do you think hypothetically, if the Bills grabbed Jeddah that year when they traded off, what do you think?
I think, to say one thing about the trade, it was probably on paper the most fair trade you could possibly do in any sport. You traded Diggs to Buffalo. They got a number 1, top 5.
Yeah.
And then the Vikings drafted Jeddah, top 5, even maybe top 2.
Suck it, Eagles.
It's exactly. It was the most fair trade possible on paper. But to fully answer the question, they would not have won a Super Bowl. Because like I said about 10 minutes ago, you run into one dude, and it's never about can the Bills score points against the Chiefs. It's more of who has the ball last and whose defense can make a stop, who can make the guy turn over the ball. Jeddah goes onto that team, even though Jeddah is, besides this year, Diggs has always been like, top 5. Some people might have him a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower. So I just think that Jeddah is a great commodity, but like what I saw last year, and I think it diminished kind of sometimes what a wide receiver is so good, it kind of backfires. Is Diggs got hurt, or not Diggs? Jetta got hurt last year, and the Vikings started winning. And he's a top 1 or 2 wide receiver.
Yeah.
And he got hurt, and they started winning. The Chiefs, they lose Tyreek Hill. They won 2 Super Bowls. Jetta, he would have been a good wide receiver. Of course, he's a great wide receiver, but if he was to, if he would have been on the Bills, I don't think they would have won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And there's just a bunch of kind of pieces that goes into winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah. See, we've only seen Jetta with one quarterback and basically one. I don't know if he played a year with Zimmer, but we've seen him mostly with Kevin O'Connell. And that's a passing guru, spread the ball out, let's air it out, head coach / coordinator. With Sean McDermott at the helm with Jetta, I don't trust that. Like, being where we're at right now, I don't trust it. I don't care if Josh Allen's at the helm. I just feel like he would have been misutilized, and you probably would have seen a little bit of trauma with Jetta saying, I know what kind of player I am, and Josh Allen, he might have struggled with scheme. So I agree. I don't think they would have won a Super Bowl, if Jetta would have ended up on the Bills. I think the cards played out exactly how they were supposed to. Diggs had a fantastic dynamic with Allen. They got close a couple times, but I don't see it happening. And I don't think I might be controversial on this, but I don't think one player, one wide receiver makes the difference to win a Super Bowl. I don't. I think it makes a difference in production and efficiency, sure, but I think there are more important players and coaches that are on the hierarchy chain than a wide receiver. That's my personal opinion.
Would you rather have one great number 1 and a bunch of 3s, or 3 great number 2s?
Give me 3 great number 2s.
It's like, it's like
give me who are 3
like,
great
think about if you
twos?
had like
T?
you had like Devontae Smith.
T, Waddle.
Nah, those guys are those are ones. Devontae Smith is probably like your best number 2. Let's go Devontae Smith.
Brandon Cooks. He's not the best, but like back in the day, he was kind of a number 2.
Because I'm trying to think of, let's just say Tyler Lockett, Devontae Smith. Let's go with the big guy. We need a number 2. Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Deebo. All right, yeah, that's a good one. All right, shit. So Deebo. Who was that first one?
Devontae Smith,
Deebo,
Tyler Lockett.
and Tyler Lockett. Yeah. Shit.
Those are 3 good number 2s. Or
Yeah.
you can have, let's go Jetta, Michael Gallup, and let's go Cedric Wilson.
All right, yeah, you pick. I'll pick one great wide receiver. I'll put Tyreek Hill, and then give me 3 threes. Tyler Boyd. I'm putting Michael Gallup in the 3s, but Tyler Boyd, Jackson Smith and Jigba, JSN. I don't like saying his full name. And let's see. Ooh, oh damn, almost had one. Romeo Dubes.
If you need a number 2, bro, if you need a great one, just go with Deebo.
Let's go with Deebo. He's the best number 2 out there. If you want a running back that is overpaid for his position, you want him to run swing routes, 5-yard in routes, and drag routes, and have your other receivers blocked downfield while he's catching it, go after Deebo.
Hey, here's a real question. Who's a better route runner, Deebo or McCaffrey? I don't know. I think I'd take McCaffrey, bro.
They run the same routes.
Exactly.
Who's a better Who's a better athlete? Who's a better Swiss Army knife? Deebo Samuel or Taysom Hill?
Taysom Hill, you can play quarterback. Not everybody can.
I was gonna say.
Not everybody can. It's funny because not everybody can play quarterback. If somehow he can play quarterback and tight end, put him on the Cowboys.
We got a comment from the audience that he just would is all he said.
Who?
Like, I would.
Who's it coming from?
It's from Old Baldy 34 Wood.
Who the fuck is that?
It basically just means we're both ones. Yeah. Congratulations. You've made it on the binary scale. Yeah. All right. So, moving on. Our last topic of the day, which would be who had the worst off season in the NFL. And I know you don't. You said you don't want to talk Astros and Rangers. Briefly bring that up. Astros are kind of struggling, but the Silver Boot Series is happening right now. I feel like I'd be betraying myself. I just didn't bring it up at all. I'm just putting it out there. We got a 4-game series right now. I think I'm going to the game tomorrow in Arlington after the eclipse, unless an earthquake doesn't disrupt the entire planet. But fun stuff. Nothing over there for the Houston Astros. Sorry, guys. There's 162 games. It'll get better. But who's had the worst offseason so far in the NFL? What do you think?
Astros. I'm just kidding. Worst offseason. Man, I'm gonna have to go with. Man, I'm gonna have to go with Buffalo. They've lost so many people, and I haven't seen them sign anybody. But it's still early. Honorable mention.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with.
Throw it out there. You're wearing the shirt.
Guess I go with the Cowboys. I think the best underrated one would be the Commanders.
Yeah.
They probably had the most underrated off season.
Dorrance Armstrong and some other guys.
They're building up that team.
Yeah.
And another underrated one that could very hit or miss, time will tell, is the Steelers.
Yeah.
That's another
underrated. Double quarterback trade.
Yeah, and apparently Justin Fields wanted to go to Pittsburgh. I don't know the reasoning or logic behind it.
What an idiot!
Yeah, I don't know why he picked that team, but I mean, if he wants to be there, that's always a good sign. He's like, I want to be there.
I always said that Justin Fields should go to a Southern state and play down there. Like we always said, the Falcons would be a good fit.
I wanted him on Miami.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Miami would have been sick. Bro, I don't know if it would have worked because they're kind of like a deep pass. I guess that is a specialty.
Bro, think about this. I'll just say one thing so we don't get off topic. Justin Fields. The thing about Tua is more accurate than Fields, but he doesn't have the arm or he can't run. With Justin Fields, with Tua, you can't run RPO.
No.
Because you think he's going to run the ball. If his read's not there, the whole play is fucked.
Yeah.
Because he can't, expand the play. Justin Fields, you got to worry about, they can run RPO now.
Yeah.
He can run the ball. If the play's not there, he can go make a play.
Yeah, it would open up their offense.
And he can throw the ball. I think he can throw the ball about like almost 60 yards in the air.
What's crazy is like Tua, and I'll be brief, but like Tua on the Dolphins or whatever with Mike McDaniel at the helm, like they're looking at Tua. Mike McDaniel's looking at Tua like, God, there's so much more shit I want to run, but I can't because of Tua. Like, yes, he's efficient and he's in that system the way he is, but I'm telling you, there's so much more Mike McDaniel probably wants to do. But in my opinion, those were good picks for who had the worst offseason. Mine would be Jacksonville. They took a huge step back this year. I mean, now you got, I think it's just Christian Kirk and a couple other guys over there. Gabe Davis, which, I just – you can't trust him in fantasy with Josh Allen. I don't trust him anywhere else. Like, sorry. Like, he went like 2 or 3 games with 0 receptions. And I about broke my phone in half and started using my work phone for fantasy football, which is illegal. No, but yeah, no, I don't like what Jacksonville's doing over there. I think they took a huge step back, and I think Doug Peterson and them need to be. I've always said that franchise just needs to move locations. I mean, change the color schemes, change the name. It's just not a winnable looking franchise. That's all about looks for me with that. But I think a sneaky one, like you mentioned, the Commanders, moving off of some guys, the Bears I put in there. That's a sneaky good one. They got DJ Moore last year. They traded for Keenan Allen this year. They got, I think Mooney departed, but they got a plethora of running backs with Roshan Johnson, what's his name? Khalil Herbert, DeAndre Swift joining the helm now. If they can patch up their offensive line, their defense was already like leading the league in interceptions last year. So they got Jalen Johnson, I think, returned on a contract as well. Solid cornerback. Roquan Smith, I believe, is there. Sorry, I'm like dicey on the names. I just don't want to be wrong. You get a guy like Caleb Williams, and he pans out like he's supposed to. Just raise the flags and let's go pirating. Let's just steal wins from people this year and year 2.
Better watch out for them.
Yeah, better watch out for Chicago. Jordan Love's coming for you.
Jordan Love,
Love's coming for you.
That's a good quarterback.
Sleeper of the year. I'm putting it out there right now so everybody knows. Sleeper of the year next year. Jaden Reed, wide receiver, Green Bay Packers. Sleeper, top 20 wide receiver.
Jaden Reed is a good player. My sleeper of the year is going to be CeeDee Lamb. Said that last year.
Tyreek Hill.
I said that last year. That was one of my better.
Yeah. And that is in the episode we've called it out. I don't know if you were actually on the episode where I called it out. I think I just had to say, yeah, Hunter called this out. So you got to get it out right now. Tell us what you said and how it panned out with CeeDee Lamb.
So it was actually May 20th. May 20th, I said in the chat, and I was like,
last year.
Yeah, May 20th of last year, of course. I said last year, I was like, CeeDee Lamb will be the number 1 wide receiver next year. And I was like, but that doesn't make him the best wide receiver. People are like, what are you saying? I'm like, he's gonna have the best season next year. Yeah, he's gonna have the best season next year. However, there's still gonna be guys that take over, like the Tyreek Hills and everything. And a couple of days later, PFF kind of said, like, watch out, he's a dark horse. Like 3 days after I said what I said. So then the season starts to come, and I'm still kind of talking about it, and I was like making bets. I was like, he'll be the number 1 fantasy wide receiver. And I was like, no matter what league I'm in, I don't care what pick I'm at in the first round, I'm taking him. And I took him at like 7. I took him at like 10, 12. I think
you stole him from me.
Yeah, I just kept talking about it, and I was making bets, and he's like, and then he just goes.
Yeah, the first 4 weeks we were like, I don't know.
And next thing you know, he finishes All-Pro, first team. He was the best wide receiver. He had fantasy numbers. He was number 1, and I told everybody, they can
give you some credit.
Yeah, but I said it a lot differently. But that's basically what I was saying was give me some credit.
And that's what's fun about this too, is we talked about that. As we're wrapping things up here. We're at our hour mark, so that's great timing for our episode. But yeah, like we talked about off air, a lot of times when we didn't have a podcast, it was like, I say a lot of these things and they come into fruition and I don't get any credit for it. It's like, all right, well, I got that call about starting a podcast where it's like, all right, well, let's give you a platform to where you can call things out and nobody can deny your takes. And we even have a risky platform where we're shattering the script. We're going against the grain in a lot of things. So we're saying the things that not many people are saying because they're too afraid to say it. So that's how we roll. So hell of a call out. I was able to shout it out when we had the title of Working the Kids. So can you do it again? Can you do it again? It's not May yet.
Let me
get a new player.
Let me after the draft. I can cook something up.
Yeah,
I gotta see. It's too early. I gotta see what everyone's kind of doing. I'll drop y'all a nice little sleeper. Go make some bets with it. Kind of take my story and make it your story.
Is that Drake?
That is Drake.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, this was You Dig It with Hunter Poole and me, your host, Jared Brandon. Both of us are hosts, of course. But this is the Shatter the Script podcast.
I want to say one thing before. I just want to say a quote. I'm all about quotes and, just finding stuff to kind of just different mindset. Having a different mindset every day and a better mindset. And I scroll across this quote from Shia LaBeouf.
Drop some heat on him. Boom.
Yeah, I saw this quote and I really liked it. I just want to share it with y'all. He said, I always thought joy was all I get this and then I'm happy, or I do this and then I'm happy, or I make that and then I'm happy, or they respect me and I'm happy, or I always thought happiness was going to be acquired by the things I would gain from life. That's why I was always grabbing. And then he says, if I knew early on that happiness actually is me offering all of my suffering up for other people as a instructive thing or as something that could benefit man, then maybe I would have lived my life differently. I like that quote because it's true. Because you think that if you do this, then you're happy. If you get the girl, then you're happy, and you're always just trying to grab something to find happiness. But really, joy comes from taking your bad things and telling those inequalities to people to help better their life.
Yeah.
And then that's where true joy comes from. And if you do that, then you have a better life. You find joy and all that.
It's that feel good spirit that takes over the fiber of your being when you do something you don't do every day, but it's a loving act for someone else, and then you're like, damn, that made me feel good. And it's not like you should get rewarded for it. That's the right thing to do. And so that's where joy and happiness comes from. That's why Christmas is such a special time. You're giving away something of yours that you think someone else would enjoy. They take it, they absorb it, and they gain joy from it. And then you receive stuff too. Yeah, it's Christmas, but that's why it's a time of joy. It's the same concept there. That's Shia LaBeouf, right? Yeah. That's a great quote. Great way to end the episode. We should do that. You need to do that. I know you do that at work. We should do that at the end of every podcast.
Yeah, I'll do a quote every day. Like I said, I see quotes.
I'll do a music lyrics.
Yeah, I see quotes like every day, and I just take those quotes and basically try to find quotes and hear people's different perspectives on how to live your life better, and how you can. What my definition, I think, where I find my joy or happiness. If I can look at it from a different mindset, then I can maybe experience that true joy and happiness and everything like that.
Oh yeah, and mine is a little different. I'm just going to throw out the whim here. It is a lyric from the great and new Morgan Wallen, and it is very relevant to a lot of men out there. But she's probably making out on the couch with someone new.
Whiskey glasses. That's a great line.
It's because it's true. Yeah, you think, oh, she left you to be by herself. Ha ha ha. That's funny. Yeah, no, she didn't. She's gone. She's never coming back. Yeah. All right. Well.
Well.
All right. Great quote. We're doing that every week. This was a great podcast. We appreciate you guys. This will be out. Obviously, we did the live on YouTube, so it'll be on YouTube already. We'll be uploading it to Spotify and Apple throughout the week. So keep in mind, just look on social media. We'll be throwing some clips out there. Keep in mind, our X is probably our most used platform. So we're really looking to grow on that because it is an exploding app right now on social media. So you can check us out on there at STS_pod with a 0 on all platforms. So just keep in mind, we'll be out there and posting, and we'll be back in the saddle next Sunday as we get closer to the NFL draft. But this was episode 3. You dig it? Shatter the script. I'm your host, Jared May. Other host,
Hunter Poole.
And we'll be back next Sunday. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good rest of y'all's weekend.